I call the meeting to order for Tuesday, September 12th. This is the regular meeting, 7 p.m., Hanson Board of Selectmen. I'd like to take a moment of silence for Miss Evelyn M. Barr. She passed away at 84 years of age. She was a 53-year Hanson resident, and she loved to embroider, read, shop, dine out. She was a former owner of the Seven Elves gift shop in Hanson and served on the Hanson School Committee in the 80s, and most recently enjoyed being a member of the wonderful, wacky Widows of St. Joseph the Worker Church. So let's just honor her with a moment of silence. Thank you. I would like to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you all for coming. I think this will be a fun-filled meeting, as all of our selected meetings usually are, right? Okay. Public announcements, let's get right into it. The Rockland Hanson Rotary will be hosting the annual Carolyn Reddy Memorial Golf Tournament on Friday, September 15th at Southers Marsh Golf Course in Plymouth. Registration forms are due by September 1st. It is $125 per player, which includes door prize and lunch. Registration forms and more information is available on the town website at www.hanson-ma.gov or by calling Peter Leverone at 781-293-3551. I hope I pronounced his last name right, did I?
Leverone.
Leverone, okay. The Hanson Historical Society will be hosting its annual Harvest Fair yard sale on Saturday, September 16th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Old Schoolhouse, number 4, at 565 Main Street. Lunch, desserts, drinks, and antique car rides. For vendor space, please call Patty Norton at 781-294-8645. Hanson will have its annual Hazardous Waste Day, which will be held Saturday, September 16th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the former Plymouth County Hospital site at 224 High Street. For a list of acceptable items, please go to www.hanson-ma.gov. Pembroke Watershed Association will hold a meeting on Wednesday, September 27th at 7 p.m. at Arrow Restaurant on Route 36 in Pembroke. Sarah Grady of North and South River Watershed and Alex Mansfield of Jones River Watershed will be the featured speakers. The meeting is open to the public, and for more information about the Pembroke Watershed, go to www.pembrokewatershed.com. Volunteers are needed on the following committees: the 200th anniversary, agricultural, capital improvement, disabilities, elder affairs, energy, finance, Memorial Day Patriot observance, the Nathaniel Thomas Mill committees. Application for appointment and info on the committee is available on the town website at www.hanson-ma.gov. Upcoming meetings, we have the final Plymouth County Hospital Reuse Committee meeting will be held on Wednesday, September 13th, 4 p.m. at Town Hall. The Historical Commission will hold its meeting also Wednesday, September 13th at 5:30 p.m. And the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District Facilities and Capital meeting will be held at 6 p.m. And after that to follow will be the school committee meeting, both on September 13th. The first one is at 6 p.m., followed by the school committee meeting at 7 p.m. at the library, at the high school library. Community preservation will also be on Wednesday, September 13th at 7 p.m. The selectmen will hold a meeting on Tuesday, September 19th at 7 p.m., as well as Tuesday, September 26th, 7 p.m., which would be the town meeting preview. The Agricultural Commission will hold its meeting on Tuesday, September 19th at 7 p.m. at the library. I missed this one. Final Plymouth County Hospital Reuse Committee will also hold another meeting Wednesday, September 20th at 4 p.m. Finally, the Capital Improvement Committee meeting will hold its meeting on Monday, September 25th at 7:30 p.m. There was the flushing of the hydrants Starting on Monday, September 18th, 2017 through November, the Water Department will begin flushing hydrants. Flushing hours will be Monday through Thursday, 7 p.m. to 12 a.m. We will begin at the tank on High Street, continuing down Main Street, Reed Street, South Street, and Pleasant Street. The Water Department will give you advance notice of all areas to be flushed. During flushing hours, you may experience discolored water. If this should happen, drain off your water heater as soon as the water clears. Also, please avoid doing laundry during these hours as your water will be discolored. We apologize for any inconvenience this may cause. The flushing program is necessary to purge all water mains. If you have any questions, please call the Hanson Water Department at 781-447-1200 by Mr. Richard D. Muncy, Water Superintendent.
Donnie had something.
Donnie?
On the water, instead of draining your water tank, you really, if you got discolored water, you really should open an outside spigot on your house
And run it there?
and run it there and not get it into your water tank. I mean, if you run it into your water tank, that makes it worse. But if you notice it, immediately go outside and the closest spigot in your house, drain it there.
Johnny, how are they gonna be, letting people know if it's
They've-
affecting their street? Is it
They've
gonna
got
be-
signs that they stick up
Okay.
on the streets.
Are they gonna do a reverse call, like one
I
of the calls?
don't think they're gonna do that. but
Okay,
They just mentioned what streets they're gonna be doing.
yeah,
And what they'll do is they'll put the signs up on the streets that they're doing, so that the residents will know in the area.
okay.
Cool. Thank you, Donnie. Thank you. Next we have on our agenda is new business. This is the affirmation hire of Mr. Robert Hyman as the per diem senior van driver. And Mr. Hyman is with us today. Under item 2 on your agendas is his application for employment. And first I want to thank you and welcome. I see you've worked at Toyota of Braintree. That's terrific. Weymouth Honda. Wow. Ultimate Copy. It's quite a resume. Quite a work experience. Forgive me, work experience. I would entertain a motion to accept Mr. Hyman as the interim driver, van driver, is that it? Yeah,
Per
senior-
diem, per
senior
diem van driver.
So moved.
I apologize, per diem.
Second.
Who moved it? Don.
Donnie.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Laura and I are not involved again.
Left in the desk, Jim.
Speak
You
up.
guys got to speak quickly.
Wait and dart back here.
Speak quickly or forever, yeah. All right, comments, questions? Any
I just have
questions?
one question. What was your position at the dealership?
For most of the time, I was one of the sales managers.
Oh, okay. 19 years at one dealership is,
Oh, yeah.
that's outstanding.
Practically unheard of.
The Fanction family are very fine people,
Nice.
Yeah.
you know.
Good.
Mary, did you want to say something? Mary Collins?
Yes, I would like to, on Bob's behalf. Bob and his wife Linda are volunteers, have been volunteers at the senior center. They do live in Whitman, but they come to our chorus, members of our chorus. And prior to Bob's life in the car business, he was a music teacher.
Correct.
So he brings a wealth of goodness and talent with him. So we're very pleased.
Can you
to
sing
have
something
Bob.
for us?
You'll have to come.
Far,
to
far
the-
away.
Go
Mr.
ahead, Mike?
I was just going to say, Mr. Chairman, I had occasion, along with Mary, to speak with Bob yesterday, and I highly recommend his appointment. Bob will be filling in as needed as a van driver, and we've actually needed somebody in that position for quite some time. So we're very happy that he has he has stepped forward to take such a position, and we look forward to him being with us for quite some time.
Thank you, and thank you
Yeah.
for stepping up.
Thank you.
Okay, motion was made and seconded. All those in favor accepting Mr. Hyman into the position of senior van driver per diem? Say aye.
Aye.
5-0, Mary. Welcome and thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome to stay,
Thank all
but
of
you don't have to. You're welcome to stay, but you don't have to. It's up to you.
I'm going on.
Good choice.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay. We've got a posting. Letter of support for the final Plymouth County Hospital Reuse Committee preservation application. Mike, I think you were going to mention on this one, basically you're looking for affirmation from the selectmen, is that correct?
Yeah, actually, what I'm looking for, Mr. Chairman, is authorization for me to pen a letter to the committee on behalf of the Board of Selectmen in support of the reuse committee's request for funds, community preservation funds.
So you're going to write a letter, go ahead, Laura.
Yes.
Mike, so I really hate to belabor this point, but we're still not 100% crystal clear on what exactly the PCH Reuse Committee is asking for from CPC. The last selectmen's meeting that we had, there seemed to be some discussion around what that was, but, you know, are you going to have more clarity as to what that request is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and if it's the board's pleasure, what I will do is, they provided us with a rather detailed breakdown that I reviewed, and I actually recommended the removal of some of it to make it more appropriate for the funds being requested. What I will do, Mary and I will send the board a copy, a detailed copy of what is going before the committee, the Community Preservation Committee, and I will wait for, let's say, negative feedback. If I don't get that, let's say by the end of the week, I will go forward and I will pen that letter.
All right,
So
so
that'll
negative
forward you.
consent. If we
yeah.
don't, if you don't hear from us, you get a.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
I didn't know this was to CPC, this is to the CPC, all right?
This, yes, because
Definitely is.
when the applicant applies to CPC, they have to have letters of support from various departments, just indicating that it's not flying in the face of some initiative and that it's in keeping with what people would want to do. And we'll have another chance as selectmen to support or not support that article in the warrant.
Right.
But this is for purposes of getting it before CPC for them to officially take the vote to include it in the warrant, which they've put in a placeholder, but
Okay,
it kind of closes out the loop.
gotcha.
The application's been completed and submitted for,
Gotcha.
to
I remember now reading last time we met on that, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so are you looking for that vote, Mike, now? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion to approve a letter of support for the, for Mike to draft a final Plymouth County Hospital Reuse Community Preservation application to CPC.
So moved.
Second.
good job.
You win. Okay.
Slid one in there, didn't I, Mary?
Did I get you in there?
Seconded.
We're gonna put that revision in there, as long as there's no negative
As long as there's no
email or
negative.
feedback.
Provided that nobody
Yeah.
gives negative
Add
feedback.
that to the motion.
And Mike, we can't
If you-
deliberate in an email with
No.
you, so.
Oh, yeah, actually, one-on-one you can.
One-on-one.
And if, yeah, and if for some reason you see something, or any one individual sees something, they can get back to me and say, ooh, hold your horses, and I will.
Okay,
You and I, Jim and I,
Right,
Kenny
I
and I,
gotcha.
we can
Yeah.
have conversations till, the cows come
Yeah.
home. It's just when you bring everyone in, so.
okay.
Kenny's asking to modify the motion to include the negative, would that be?
Yeah,
applicable?
if any of us have,
How about subject to the board's
Approval
Yeah.
of boards, so can you make that
Yeah,
modification?
perfect, that would be
Okay.
great,
So
thank
we-
you.
to authorize the town administrator to draft a letter of support for the project, subject to the board's approval?
Yes, that would be, that's.
Is that okay?
Yeah, and we all understand what that motion means, yeah.
So I would imagine that for the record, we should motion and vote on it, right? Because it has changed. So I'd look to entertain a motion.
Nope, we already did.
No, we
took a
hadn't
vote.
really gotten through the whole thing
Oh, I
yet.
thought we did. Didn't we vote to?
No, it was a
did we vote
motion.
discussion?
It was just a
motion
motion and a
seconded.
second.
Motion and
Yeah, we
second?
just gotta vote.
Do we have to motion and second again
No,
as
accept
amended?
it as a friendly amendment.
Gotcha. All right. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. 5-0. Wow, we made it through that one, Mary. Thank God, huh? All right. Next on our agenda is a department report from Mrs. Mary Collins, Elder Affairs. Thanks, Mary.
I don't think we've met.
Jim,
You're-
nice to meet you.
Nice to see
Mary, how are you?
I would miss to see you.
Nice to see you too.
When was the last time you were here? We
Oh,
had.
my goodness.
A year ago?
Remember?
Is it almost a year ago?
Almost a year.
That's what I said.
Maybe shortly,
8, 9
right around that
months?
time, I
Well,
think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were trying to tell me a year, and I said no.
It's close, because you were really a newbie, I think, and now
Oh,
you're
you got 3 years in December. But that's all right, I'll take the compliment.
I am Mary Collins. I'm the Director of Elder Affairs, and for those of you who are not aware, we are adjacent to the library, which I think you probably do know. The staff at the Senior Center is comprised of people who are funded by the municipality. My position, as well as a part-time administrative assistant and a part-time custodian, who we are very, very pleased to have. Also, we have other positions that are funded through revenue that comes in through our supportive day program. Our supportive day program has been in existence, believe it or not, over 24 years. It started in the fire station many, many years ago. And it has grown, and when the Senior Center was created over beside the library, it was a fitting place for a program to serve the frailer elders within the community. We are actually, we have a quota of up to 30 people that we can sustain within that program and give them the proper care that's required. It's a non-medical unit. It's a completely social program. But what people do when they're there is they come with us for about 6 hours during the day. And they're given entertainment. They're given programs that will increase their socialization, help them with reminiscing. Oftentimes, I will say, probably 90% of the people that are with us for that particular program are people with memory issues, whether it be dementia or Alzheimer's disease. We have a special care or a coordinator for that program, and her position is funded from the revenue of that from that program. We also have 2 part-time assistants within that program that work pretty hands-on with the people involved, and they're also funded through the supportive day, as well as our van driver and a volunteer intergenerational coordinator. A lot of our programs are successful because of the amount of volunteers that we have within the programs. And as a matter of fact, I met Bob Hyman when Bob came in. His wife was already a volunteer with us, and she brought her husband in because she thought it might be something that he would enjoy. We find that people that do pass through the door and work specifically with the folks in our supportive day are very compassionate, caring individuals, and quite often people find us at a time when they have gone through a loss or they're feeling like they're not sure what their direction might be, and they find through volunteering that they find a purpose. So that program is incredibly near and dear to all of us. Aside from that, we have other programs that are going on because we want to make certain that the elders within the community are aware of some of the latest things that are available to them as they age in place. Our purpose really is to try and help people as they age, to give them services or referrals to services that might help them remain in their home for as long as possible and hopefully throughout their life. That can be anything from special programs that might modify their home for safety and for ease, to even, making referrals to Old Colony Elder Services for home care and things like that. So we're very active in that regard. Part of that being a success is trying to identify the people that need that help. Our generation, my generation, is very different than the generations that we serve, and I have found over the years that the generations that we serve are the ones that are least likely to ask for help. So oftentimes it's just getting to know the person and getting a little bit of trust, and then
kind of moving forward, being able to move forward, to offer support and referrals to appropriate programs. And we're also hoping that in turn, our program may be one of the referrals that they take. Bless you.
Excuse me, thank you.
So we have health series, we have all kinds of programs that keep people active and motivated. Everything from Tai Chi. Last year we began a Zumba Gold. For those that know what Zumba is, this is a special one that's geared for those over 50, which I happen to be. So, very active, very active. Our line dancing.
I'm eligible.
You're ineligible, did you say?
No, I'm eligible. Over 50, wow.
All right, then Wednesday afternoon,
that
3 o'clock, you be there. I'm looking for you. I'll be there if you're going to be there. We have a great group of people that get together every Thursday for line dancing. And along with our line dancers, because we are a community, we open up all of our programs to people of any age. We're a multi-service senior center. So I will say within the last few years, we've had groups, especially groups from North River Collaborative, that will join us for line dancing, for Dancing with Henry, for different programs. And it's quite amazing to see the way that people are accepting and welcoming, and then they become a part of one another. It's
You have
quite
a big
awesome.
crowd, Mary?
A huge crowd.
Really?
Yeah.
That's great.
Our line dancers, well, I won't get into it because some may be watching this evening, but they are fabulous. They're what do we call them? Fun, fast, and fabulous. They are. They're a wonderful group and always welcoming new people. We have groups of people that will play cards, cribbage. We have our bridge group meets every Tuesday morning. So we're trying to meet the needs of every person. If someone comes to us and says, gee, you know, I'd like to play mahjong or something that we may not currently have, we'll reach out and see if we can put together something, hook them up with someone. I learned from my father, who is a young retiree and a young widower, after losing my mother, that people do need a purpose. It may take a while for them to find it, but I feel that the senior center offers that, whether it be for us to help in what we do, what we can help you with, but oftentimes it's what you can help yourself by doing. Sometimes people come through the door looking for just a little direction, and they turn out to be our best volunteers. So I'm very pleased to be where I am. We have received I applied for a Title III grant, which I do every year through Old Colony Planning Council. We just got word last week that we received, it's usually a $3,500 grant. That grant is specific for the Supportive Day program. And that is to be used specifically for people who are economically in need. So over the years, we've been able to offer people, we might be able to identify that a family is struggling, but mom or dad really needs this program. We can then offer them a little bit of that to help them out. We also have a large amount of subsidies through Old Colony Elder Services for our Supportive Day program. And again, it can go anywhere from, depending on what program they can get the person into. They may offer a day or two. They may offer 5 days, which indeed, last year I received a letter from one of our women who had been in the program for 7 years. And in the letter, after she passed, her daughter wrote this beautiful letter that stated, your program kept my mother from a nursing home for the.
We saw that.
Yeah, I think we read it at this meeting, one of these meetings.
And we hear this, and we don't like to toot our horns, but that's what's happening down there. And it truly is.
And you also accept donations too, right?
We do, and I wanted to mention Mrs. Barr. Mrs. Barr's family stopped by this week and donated some beautiful embroidery kits and needlepoint kits, and there's so many people that I can't even tell you how many people have gone by them this week and just said, oh my gosh, I haven't done that in so many years. You know what? I might try it. I might try it again. And that's what we're
nice,
about.
yeah.
Yep, that's what we're all about. So, and I think I've taken up way too much of your time. I'm so sorry. I did want to mention that open enrollment, in case anybody's, I know you're all watching tonight, open enrollment, that is your Medicare open enrollment period is coming up in October, ends December 7th. If you're thinking of making a change in your Medicare prescription plan, please, if you need any help, please call the center. We will set you up with some Shine Counseling to help you with that. Also, fuel assistance will be opening beginning of November, and we are the site for the town of Hanson for people of any ages to come if they require some fuel assistance. So give us a call. We'll set you up with an appointment and get the ball rolling. And also, if you received fuel assistance last year, you should be getting your re-app. And if you haven't, please call self-help and let them know that you haven't received it yet, so that we can, you'll be all set for the winter. Our Friends group, we have a very active Friends group, and they are holding an event on the 30th of September, the last Saturday of September. They're doing it in memory of Warren Grumpy Gladback, who was a member of our senior center, and his wife Pat. Warren Grumpy, we all called him, and he wasn't, but he belonged to the South Shore Antique Auto Club, and in his memory, they're showing some antique autos on the 30th at the center from 3 to 5. And then there's an event from 6 o'clock on Laura and Wesley James, a brother and sister team, musical duo. They've sung with the Platters. They're a local group. We've had them once before, and they're phenomenal. So they're going to be performing that evening. So they're kind of making it a big event.
Wow.
Do they do Motown, or what is it that
They do. They do everything.
All right.
They do. Yep. They're fabulous. They're really fabulous. So that's all I have. Thank you for entrusting the Hanson seniors
I'll tell you, Mary,
with us, and we appreciate it.
we get a lot of, I understand there's a lot of work from your end and from your staff and the volunteers that you have. And we hear nothing but positive things that
I'll
come
give you
from
something for Barry.
things you do and of all your volunteers and your staff as well. And we are greatly appreciated to
Well,
work.
thank you very much. Thank you.
It makes me look forward to coming there on my days.
Thank you. And don't forget, Hanson does have the best volunteers.
Yeah,
Which is only another month or two down the road.
Yes, sir.
he's gonna put it.
Mary, I was just going to mention, because I just said something to Mary, but in our announcements, I know you just mentioned the Medicare and the fuel assistance. The chairman could read it as it comes up again if you would email Mary.
I will gladly
Just-
do that.
And that way the chairman could say it at the beginning of the meeting.
That would be great. That would be great, because there's never enough announcing that, because unfortunately December 7th comes quickly, and then you're not able to make those choices any longer. And they are crazy. They're very difficult to get through for the average person.
Can anybody play cribbage?
Yes,
Okay.
if you're willing to lose a few. I'm gonna tell you, we got some tough cribbage players. You better watch it. Come prepared.
I may not be eligible as the chairman. You know.
Remember, we're multi-service. Any
That's-
age,
okay.
any age. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mary, for the
Thank you.
update.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. Thank you, Mary, no worries.
Okay, see you, thank you.
Say hello to Dorchester for me.
I will.
Next on our agenda, we have a request from the Whitman Hanson Kingston Youth Hockey League, I guess, for a fee reduction at Camp Quaney
What do they want?
for a fundraiser on November 3rd.
Grant, 100.
It should be 2013, and I believe you'll see it on item, what, on your agenda? Item 3, right.
I think you mean 2017.
It should be 2017. What did I say?
You said
3,000?
13.
13, yeah, 2017, forgive me. And this description of the event is a fundraiser event for nonprofit youth hockey, requesting lodge to be donated by the town of Hanson for nonprofit that has direct ties to the town of Hanson. And it is a waiver reduction from $1,000 to $160. The date of the event will be November 3rd, 2017, from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. And the representative is Mrs. Priscilla Spano at Whitman Hanson Fundraising Committee. I would entertain a motion to accept this fee reduction as read.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion or questions?
The only question that I would have, Mr. Chairman, is what kind of event is it? I mean, it doesn't say.
No, it says fundraiser event for nonprofit.
Okay.
Description of event, fundraiser for event for nonprofit. Right under the lodge.
Yeah, I mean, I know that could span, it spans the gamut. There's
Right,
so
I mean,
many-
are they going to be asking for a,
Their second annual, and it's gonna have to be catered because they're planning on over 75 people.
Oh, is it like a sit-down dinner kind of thing, or dinner?
They hadn't planned on it being that way,
Oh.
but it's not gonna be, I think it'll just be pick and choose or whatever.
Okay, but kind of like silent raffle, basket type of thing, or,
I'm not exactly sure what they.
okay. But it's not a hoedown or something of that
No,
sort
no,
where
no,
it's
no,
gonna be
no.
all
It's
kinds of,
supposed to
okay.
be,
All right.
the family's night out or something, like adults' night out, as
Okay.
opposed to having
So
to
no-
take the kids to everything.
no bar service then?
Well, we'll see it, we would see it in.
We'll see
to
it in the
request.
alcohol permit.
Yeah, we're the ones who
Okay.
grant that, so
Yeah,
I don't
that's
see one, but I'm assuming.
why I'm
yes.
asking.
That's not till
Yeah.
November, so you won't get the permit application.
It's not till November, so they wouldn't apply yet, right?
Right.
So-
No, I
don't-
would probably have it if they, let me
I
just
mean, I don't
check.
have a problem.
No, it's a
giving it
legitimate
to them.
question,
You'd
yeah.
just like to know.
Nope, I hear you.
I don't remember whether they said anything about the bar or not. I do apologize for that. I haven't taken the notes, but.
Thank you for telling us. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Mrs. Joan Frazzetti. I'm going to put people's names out there if they don't stand up and say their names, so. And her son, Brian, next to her, right, Brian? On the Recreation Department. Thanks, Brian. Okay, I've embarrassed him enough, so
We should
Any-
note that the Recreation Committee did approve this on August 28th.
before it gets to us, they better have, right? Absolutely. That's a good
Just for
point,
the
though,
record,
Kenny.
that's all.
For the record. Are we good? Is everybody set? Any questions
I
further?
think Mary might be just looking
I'm
up.
just looking it up. Everything's just kind of slow here. Just trying to see if I've got one.
What are you looking up, a liquor license?
Yeah.
Yeah, see if I have a liquor license for.
I would think if there's 75
Number
people
third. I
there,
don't,
and it's a fundraiser, they're gonna have.
I don't
bar
see that
service.
they've
Especially if they're
asked for
hockey
one.
people.
Yeah.
So maybe
I
they're
mean,
having
I'm-
liquor.
I'm good with it because
Yeah.
it's for the hockey team, but just, I don't know, maybe a little more info.
Well,
Yeah, I-
what I've done, what I've done is I've made a note, because I actually saw, and I'm not going to point out where it is, but I saw a spelling error on this form that I created, so. But I also, in addition to making a note to fix that, I also have already made a note to put something in there that would ask them to further flesh out a description of the event, so. So I'll modify that.
So going forward, Mike, for future applications?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be great, because to Jim's point, there's such a variety of fundraisers, that it's like, and, fundamentally, obviously, it's nonprofit, it's a fundraiser, we're gonna try to support them, but it would be nice to just have a little more detail.
Yeah, I'll amend it.
I mean, it's just that, on November 3rd, I'm free, and it may be something I want to attend,
Not if there's no bar service.
and I'm not going. That's the problem.
Okay, we won't go there, right?
Yep. Next.
Next, the,
Right, so did we vote this?
Yeah,
No,
we
we
have to
didn't.
vote.
We're in discussion mode.
So we're currently, Dawn to move, second by Kenny, to approve the request for reduction? Is that
yes,
where we're-
Correct.
that's correct. We're putting it to vote now. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
5-0. Next item is a town administrator's report, the personnel update, not personal update, but personnel, right, Mike?
I probably won't want to give you a personal update.
Okay, I'm with you.
I've only got a few things in addition to that, but I wanted to announce that unfortunately, and we wish her all the best, our town planner / conservation agent gave her notice the other day. It's been about a week and a half or so. Laurie Muncie's going to be moving on to a position at Old Colony Planning Council. And again, we regret her departure. She has done yeoman's work in terms of all of the projects that she's advanced, and we wish her all the best. I have had conversations with the chairman of the Conservation Commission The chairman of the planning board, as I think we might have mentioned in passing it last week, just welcomed his third daughter. So he's been on, kind of off the grid for a bit. But we have started a discussion as to how to move forward in filling that position, whether we want to keep it as a combined, as it stands right now, as a combined town planner / conservation agent, whether we want to look at bifurcating it, perhaps reaching out to a surrounding community to see if there is an opportunity that makes sense for both communities to share one, if not two, of these positions. I have reached out already and started those conversations. Laurie will be leaving us this coming Monday. She has graciously agreed to come in after hours to bridge the gap while we move forward with filling this position, if not actually two positions. So we're working through that. I did want to hold off on the Board of Selectmen's official acceptance of her resignation, because that would constitute her not being
Able to come in as agent.
Exactly. So I will ask the Board of Selectmen to entertain that at the next meeting, at which time I will also ask the board to consider appointing her as the interim. So, again, a bit of legalese and paperwork, bless you, and paperwork and whatnot. But I wanted to make the board aware that that was going on. We're not just going to knee-jerk look for somebody to fill that exact position. We want to, kind of weigh the pros and cons of moving forward as is, or if we want to, again, break those positions up. My understanding is when the town of Hanson was in dire fiscal straits, in order to accommodate or to support both of those boards, both of those committees, this position was combined. So the town of Hanson is in a bit better fiscal situation these days. We may be able to afford ourselves in breaking those positions up. But again, there's a little bit more thought and work that needs to go into it, and I will have hopefully some more information. No, not hopefully, I will have some more information to bring to the board at the next meeting a week from now. And again, I will ask for the board to take those two actions I just mentioned.
Thank you, Mike.
We have here some forms that I'm just going to pass forward to each of the members. I'll ask Jim to take these and pass them down. They're individual for each member.
In there in the order in which you're sitting, so take the top one and pass it down.
And this is
The one that says Kenny?
Yes, there you go.
yes.
I want to keep it as
Go ahead.
simple as possible.
You don't want to get Mary upset, brother.
This is the
I don't want you
annual.
signing the wrong pages.
This is the annual questionnaire that the auditors for the town give to pretty much all elected officials, most appointed officials. I don't want to go into too much detail. You can obviously read through and answer as appropriate, but there's a lot of, they ask a lot of kind of stock questions every year as to your impressions of what may or may not be going on in terms of operations. If you have any comments. Again, it's boilerplate, happens every year, happens in every town,
So these are questions to us on.
It's you individually.
Personal questions.
Yes, individually. I mean,
Not real
they're not individual to the individual, however, it is a form that each of you needs to fill out on your own and then get back to Mary when
I
you-
remember
when you-
doing this before, yeah. Is this something that has to be done annually, Mike?
Yes, it is.
Is that enclosed? Do we fill it out, put it in an envelope, and then give it to Mary?
It's
or
probably best, yeah, if you put it
Yeah,
in an
and
envelope.
I'll scan it and send it to the auditors.
Do you want a deadline on it? What do you want to put on it?
By next week, by next meeting is fine, I think.
So the comment I made about drinking at Camp Kawani is now going to be affected by the other four selectmen?
I don't know if that would fall under so much an audit report, Jim, but...
Okay.
Okay, let's see. I wanted to mention, and these are just kind of quickly now, in keeping with what the board has asked me in terms of outreach, and this was actually, not that any of the other ones have necessarily not been fun. I'm going to the Council on Aging tomorrow to have yet my second monthly coffee in the morning. But last Thursday, I was asked to give a talk at the Historic Society, which I enjoyed. Met with, I knew most of the people there already. I was happy to give a short and hopefully somewhat coherent discussion of the Kings Phillips War and how it affected the area, and how actually there were some effects directly on Halifax and Hanson. So I mention that because I think it's in keeping with outreach and getting our faces out there and showing the townspeople who their appointed officials are, and that we might be a little multifaceted here and there. And I made maybe the mistake of telling them of some of the other topics of which I can speak, and they're already starting to try to fill my calendar up. And I say that facetiously. I'm very happy to do it. So I believe I may have mentioned at the last meeting that I have changed the staff meetings, the department head meetings, from Thursdays to Tuesdays. The reason being that Tuesdays are the days that we have the town accountant here. And I had thought it was, and I apologize if I'm repeating myself, but I thought it was very important that he be afforded the opportunity to sit in those discussions, as well as have the department heads be able to ask him any questions. We did have that first Tuesday department head meeting last week, and it went very well, and I think his presence was very well received. In keeping with that line of thought, I have also, at that meeting, and I had asked previously, but I kind of corralled it at the meeting last Tuesday, my intention is to go forward on a monthly basis and meet individually with each department head on a regular basis. As you can well imagine, sometimes there are things that the department head doesn't feel is appropriate to bring before the entire group. Not necessarily because it's confidential or complicated, but that particular discussion may take up an awful lot of time, and that particular department head does not want to burden his or her colleagues by extending the meeting, half an hour, 45 minutes. Oddly enough, one of the people in particular that I was angling this for is the person I mentioned who will be departing next week, because, as I said, she's got an awful lot on her plate, and not only did I want to make sure I was updated on all of the different things that were going on in those two departments, but I wanted to make sure that I could offer any assistance to try to promote whatever was going on. So I look forward to setting that schedule by the end of this week, beginning of next week. And again, wanted to make the Board of Selectmen aware of some of the inner workings of my office, of Mary and I's office, and how it trickles down.
I know she was working on the open space and rec plan.
Yeah, and she's passed a little bit of that off to me. I'm happy to do it in the interim. I had conversations with the matter of fact, with the gentleman who is overseeing the Complete Streets. So I'll be working with him until we are able to have somebody in place. And again, she'll be back off hours to offer whatever assistance she can to try to smooth things into whatever the next phase is in those two offices. Finally, I wanted to mention that I hope by the next meeting, and probably prior to the next meeting, I'll send out drafts so you're not just seeing it for the first time. I've put together, actually, we have updated the social media policy, which I guess was bounced around a bit just before I got here. It's been on my list of things that I wanted to get to in terms of updating existing policies or creating policies that don't exist that I feel are important. So you will be seeing that in one version or another at the next meeting. And again, I will endeavor to try to send that out to you prior to that so you can review it. You're not trying to catch up as I'm discussing it. The second policy, which will be a new policy that I will be putting before the Board of Selectmen, is a policy regarding the request for legal advice by department heads and boards and committees. In a nutshell, you had a process that exists right now, which was more or less a de facto process, a de facto policy in which there was a form that was to be given to a board or committee for vote, for approval to bring back to me, for approval to move on to legal counsel. However, there was no real policy in place. So I've written a policy that encompasses all that and some other things, some definitions and some purposes and things of that nature. A policy, as a policy should be. So you'll be seeing that as well. It really won't change the way we've been doing things. It'll just better codify things, which, if and when I move on, or if and when members of this board move on, or other boards, there'll be something in place that's a bit more concrete than what we've been doing so far. So,
Mike, I remember, Mary, before Mike coming on, we talked about this a little bit, where we said on Board of Selectmen, if they had questions that needed to go to legal, they should run it through the chair. I learned that from Dave Soper. That's not
Yeah.
an official policy per se, but that's
Right, it was
more
just,
of a-
we adjusted the form that was, that we
Right.
had. We have two different forms.
And that's
one
what your
for
point is,
council,
Mike?
yeah.
to-
well, that will be in the policy.
Will include it?
Yeah,
Good.
yeah. The policy for the Board of Selectmen will be a bit different than the policy for all of the other boards. And the way the chairman just explained it in terms of how the Board of Selectmen handles such problems or such requests is the way that it was done in every other town in which I've served, and actually when I was in your capacity on the board in my town. So that's pretty much the way it's done everywhere.
I'm looking forward to the social media policy. I know we wrote a draft on that and submitted it, and we bounced it back and forth. Because we also, after we review it and approve it, we want to make sure that all employees in town understand what that policy is, right?
Yep.
They'll each get a copy and,
Yes.
Read and sign.
what's it?
I'm sorry, excuse me, would that be a read and sign so that every employee knows?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
We usually have to do it, I would like that, Jim. I think that would be something we could talk about at the time, but yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I generally would be
why
successful.
couldn't we tie it into the, when people have to do their ethics training and
That's
all
what
that stuff?
we do.
Sort
We
of
do
an
that with the
annual
sexual
compliance.
harassment policy.
Going
goes with
forward,
it,
we
yeah.
would, yeah. That would be something that would be lumped in with every appropriate policy. Once a year, you'll receive it and acknowledge that you've gotten it. But going forward, I mean, the timing may be such that, let's say I bring it before the board next week, or maybe the following week, because actually, now that I think about it, next week is pretty much going to be confined to the overall review and dry run of the,
No,
oh, no,
it's
that's,
the following
okay,
week.
then we will be doing that next week. I apologize, I'm juxtaposing my dates. But let's say something came up and, you had some significant problems or comments. It wouldn't really make a lot of sense to have people sign off on this in November and then, go through the whole thing in January. So we'll time it appropriately so it's not overwhelming.
Right.
But I guess the point being, something will be given to you for approval, for comment, and it will be promulgated as appropriate.
And we've had council look at this policy?
Yes, matter of fact,
Legal.
what we had done is we took the one that I had inherited when I got here. Mary and I had some conversations about it, sent it back to town council with some comments, and this has been returned to us from town council.
Okay. Great, thank you.
We really need that in place, I'm glad.
And I do believe that's all I have.
I did have two follow-up items, real quick, Mike.
Sure.
So the Rosewood issue is resolved, right? The sand, we know about that, that's been done.
Well, the profile of my understanding is, and I just had a conversation before this meeting with the health agent, who is obviously leading the charge on that.
Yeah, Matthew.
My understanding is that pile has been dramatically reduced, not only in height, but in size, and been redistributed throughout the property. And we have updated the residents, basically the weekly or bi-weekly reports that I've asked for from Matt. Not only have I sent those to the members of the Board of Selectmen, but I have also sent that to the list must be at least 10 individuals or 10 email addresses of the residents on Rosewood. We have received no feedback, no complaints, no. It seems things seem to be going along swimmingly.
No news is good news, right?
Exactly.
No one's complaining, and we assume.
Exactly, and again, I have seen it on a number of occasions, and, I can firsthand report that it has been dramatically reduced. And again, they do get to us, they get a hold of us when there are problems, when there are concerns, and since our last discussion, when they were present, again, the various reports and updates we've sent to them, we have not had any feedback, so hopefully that's good news.
And I do appreciate everything that Matt has done, and I you know, I know it's a precarious situation, but is it possible for us to proactively reach out and find out whether the people that were complaining are feeling as though it has been addressed?
Yeah,
Because I don't really subscribe to the no news is good news. That isn't always the case.
See, I disagree. I think you're poking the bear. I think leave it alone.
Well, wait a minute, I thought Mike just said he did. You sent them an email.
He
up
sent
there,
them
right?
emails,
Yeah,
but
but
we
I
haven't.
haven't proactively-
I mean,
Yeah.
I can do it myself.
No, I
you
get it.
know,
That's, yeah,
But I mean, we
would-
sent them an email saying this has been done. I'm assuming they could
Right.
reply back saying, look, I'm not happy, it's not.
And he
doing
said they
it."
haven't.
Yeah, and they haven't, but, you
But I hear
know,
what you're saying, I get it.
I'll, again, whatever the board's pleasure is, I would recommend, though, if that's something the board wishes done, that it go through me as opposed to an individual member.
Okay, I would prefer that as well.
So,
And then
whatever,
Yeah.
but whatever the consensus of the board is, does the board wish me to do this, or?
Well, Kenny's saying he thinks we shouldn't
Yeah,
have
I
to
mean,
be
I
there.
think we should leave it. It's a Board of Health issue. I mean, I think we've done everything we possibly can for these residents, and to go out of our way, and I don't think it's necessary, in my opinion.
Well, what you just do, Mike, is send another email out saying that you consider the matter closed. Now's your opportunity to
Yes,
speak.
yeah.
that
Yeah,
type of thing.
okay.
Yeah,
And
that's
is
really-
that,
Okay.
That's
Amenable?
something that I think would
Okay.
be appropriate.
I agree.
That kind of meets both stuff, right?
Yeah.
okay?
And believe me, if there was issues down there,
Yeah, they'd be on us.
they'd be on you.
And then, Mike, I'm just wondering,
Tax title.
prospectively, do we have a sense from Matt on whether there's been a commitment to keep that pile down, so we're not continuously revisiting
Yes.
this issue?
Yes.
Okay,
There has been a commitment that
Okay.
going forward, that's going to be the approach.
okay.
That they're not going to augment what's there, that should any new sand be required on the property, it's not going to be added to on that pile, probably not even added to, probably not even put on that side of the property.
Okay.
One last thing, Mike, I had, on the CIC. Are you reviewing that with John Norton?
Yes, as it so happens, I saw John this morning,
Yeah.
and they have scheduled a meeting for, I want
Next
to
Monday.
say.
25th.
25th.
Yeah, the
though.
25th. And he and I are going to meet prior to that, one-on-one, and we're going to go through all the spending articles. We're going to make sure that if they're not on the matrix and need to be on the matrix,
Yep.
so we'll dry run all of that for his meeting with his people, and we will be completely
Right.
up to speed.
Okay, so
for
what we will
annual.
be looking at when we
Or
get
the
the dry,
special.
dry run will be a cleaned up
Yes.
CIC that
Yes.
is meaningful.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
and accurate and up to date.
Yep, and as a
Okay.
matter of fact, the timing, it works out such that, again, their meeting will be the Monday prior to that Tuesday meeting. So John and I will have worked out whatever kinks, hopefully there are very few, in the matrix. John will present that to his people the Monday before your meeting and the dry run, and there'll be something cleaned up and voted
Yeah.
by that committee.
Just a reminder, Mike, that he should probably compare the matrix to the warrant, right?
Oh, that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we're going to do.
Perfect.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, Selectman Hickey just asked me if I could give a brief update on the tax title properties.
Yep.
As it so happens, as I think I mentioned at the last meeting, I was waiting on one small change from the attorney who's been walking us through that particular process. We got that, I signed it, I've been in contact directly with the auctioneer. He's actually on vacation this week. When he sent, of course, however, he sent a request from me to his people that are not on vacation to get me a timeline that I can present to the Board of Selectmen at the next meeting, so I can tell you, it's going to be advertised on this date, the auctions are gonna be that date, so on and so forth. So
Because,
that T's been crossed and that I's been dotted.
Time is of the essence here. If we start looking at into the holidays and it getting cold, it's not going to be as opportune a moment for us to sell the properties as it would be if we can get on it.
Yep, and he's well aware of that.
Okay.
So Mike, it's the 48 days, but it's the 48 days from when we discussed this 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
So we're down to 34
Yeah.
days.
Yep. It should move right
So
along.
it's got to be done within
Should
the
be.
next 34 days.
Yeah, it'll be done, I would assume everything should come to pass before the end of next month.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you for the TA report, Mike. Moving on into our agenda, unless anybody objects, we have the review and finalize warrant articles. We have, my understanding is we've recommended and placed several on your on your spreadsheets, I think it might be better to look at your handout.
Yeah.
There's very little to review at this point. We went through most things, and unfortunately, some of these things are still not, I think, in a position for you to actually to recommend, because we're still waiting on some final figures from a couple of different boards. However, what I would ask the board to do is to vote to reopen this warrant, because we wish to remove at least one of the articles, which we now find is probably superfluous. And if I'm not mistaken, and I don't wish to speak for him, I believe that Selectman Howard may also be in a position where he wishes to speak on a water department article. So
Okay.
with that, I would ask the board to consider reopening this warrant so we can make those adjustments.
Motion made to reopen the warrant.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
5-0. Reopened. Warrant is reopened. Mike, do you want to take the one that we want to remove?
Yeah, it is the article that pertains to asking town meeting to fund the appraisal of the,
It was
Of the-
Article
Was
12,
it
but
Article
it's
12?
not in the.
Not in our
It's
stuff.
not on your stuff for now, because I've.
But it would have been in last times, right?
Right.
yeah, it was the appraisal of the superintendent's building over at the hospital. The money we have estimated that to cost is something we feel that we can find within the budget. So we felt that it really,
It was only 500
it wasn't,
bucks.
yeah, $500. And I can find that in a number of different appropriate expense lines. So I really don't think that we need to spend town meetings, special town meetings' time in going over that.
Okay. That was I found my old articles from last time. It said the article was and is no longer here, and our stuff says, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate transfer available sums of money to conduct a commercial appraisal on the former superintendent's building located at 270 High Street, or take any other action there too. So that is the one that Mike is asking to be removed.
Yes.
I would entertain a motion to remove it as stated.
Moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. Any questions on this? It just said that these funds would have been used to value the former house in order to set a minimum bid price prior to auction, so.
I'm totally fine on removing it, and I hear what you're saying, that we've got the money, Mike, but I do want to make sure that we've got transparency and people just know that we're moving on that we're active with it, which, so I'm fine not having it on the town warrant, but that was one way of having, like, visibility into what was happening with it. So if we can just maybe articulate during your report or whatever what the status.
Of course, I would do that
Yeah.
anyway.
Okay.
Certainly.
Excellent. So motion has been made and seconded. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor of removing Article 12 as stated? Say aye.
Aye.
5-0. Mr. Howard, you wanted to talk about it?
The only one I can see is the one that's $500,000.
Which
24?
article is it?
I think it's 24. Can you just leave it there and we'll pass over it if we get
No,
to
sure.
It's place only right now, so.
it? Just place it
Yeah.
on it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we can pass it over.
Because I
to
don't
town
know
meeting.
whether or not it can be put on or not, because it was delayed, but.
Oh, that was the one that you weren't sure if it was in the CIC
Well, we've
or-
got 500,000 from the water tank that we were gonna put with another 500,000 for installing water mains, but it wasn't put on the asterisk.
Okay.
Okay.
Wasn't put on the what?
On the matrix.
CIC?
On the
Okay, yeah.
matrix, so there's,
Good catch then, Don.
Yeah.
Yes. So we'll just leave it on there for now and either pass over it later or whatever.
you'll have the answer by
If
town meeting.
if nothing can be done.
Nothing can be done.
Town meeting,
Yeah.
we'll just pass over it.
And if you're good with it, then we can
Yeah.
review, discuss, and recommend if we have to. Okay. All right, that's cool. So other than that, there's been, Mike, if I'm not mistaken, on the items that were place only, there were no other dollar amounts assigned to those, correct?
No, and I just wanted to update the board on why that is. The supplemental budget, and I sort of kind of touched upon it earlier on, that, we're looking at potentially contracting out with 2 employees that we can now, per law, contract with. And their budgets will need to be, those department budgets will need to be adjusted to accommodate whatever financial adjustments we make. And I'm still, and we'll talk about this at a further point in the next week or so, but I'm still going back and forth with where we need to be on those numbers. So
Okay.
I believe that, again, when we go through the dry run at the end of the month, I will have those figures.
Okay.
But for now, that's still something I don't wish the board to move on a recommendation. The third article is funding the union contracts. As the board, and I believe the public is aware, we have come to terms with 3 of the unions, still working with the 2 outstanding unions. I have every confidence that we will come to an agreement prior to town meeting, but we're not there yet, so I cannot ascribe a cost to that yet, a total cost. Should, for some unfortunate reason, we do not come to terms with both or one or both of those unions, we will still act on the 3 that we have come to terms with. So again, I'm very, very hopeful that we will have all 5 in agreement by October. Going through the other ones very quickly.
11, 12, 13.
I was looking at 19. 19 was the docks, right, from the recreation?
Well,
We don't have
I mean, are we
anything
just
for
missing
11.
dollar amounts for most of these, like
Yeah.
11, 12, 13?
Yes, and
At
we,
18?
19.
we will continue
19
to
says
have those
8,000.
up until I believe up until we get to the dry run. The appraisal of the McQuon School property for potential resale, we've gotten a lot of wide-ranging estimates on that. So I'm not comfortable until I get a little more feedback in putting a number on there or putting an estimate on there. They're really all over the board.
Okay.
So there needs to be a bit more work done. Fortunately, we do have a little bit more time to do that. I would, at this point, the records here indicate that the question on the reuse of the property, which is being promoted by the final Plymouth County Hospital Reuse Committee,
Yeah.
I would, at this point, ask the board to entertain recommending that. Our questions were basically centered around wording. We wanted to make sure that this question was presented in a non-binding, more of an affirmation sort of way before town meeting, and town council has come back with verbiage. I think it was our verbiage that we had asked him to look at, but he's comfortable that that verbiage will do exactly what we wish it to do, which is what I just mentioned.
Okay.
So I would ask the board, if it so pleases, to entertain recommending that at this point.
So, again, Mike, this, because we did have quite a wide sweeping discussion about all things Plymouth
Yes.
County Hospital at the last meeting. This article aims to do what?
It's to give a non-binding affirmation regarding the direction, regarding the recommendations of the reuse committee to designate a parcel, a piece of that land
As
as
a public park.
reused as a public park. That does not preclude future use of other parcels of that land for, I think we've narrowed it down, I believe, to 4 or 5 other desirables that the commission on which Don sits has promoted. And as I had mentioned at actually the previous meeting, we will be giving town meeting a survey, a truncated survey, as opposed to the work that Old Colony did for the town a few years or so ago, on which they narrowed a few things down. So we will ask the town, a town meeting, and again, we'll get it out through various other methods, to give us feedback on, the 3 or 4 or 5 other
Items.
reasonable reuses.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, can I
Jim.
ask a question about that?
Article 12, yes.
Yeah, because
That's the one
now,
we talked about for a long time last time.
yeah, and what we've heard, and I believe it was, Mike, you're the 3rd person that I've heard say, use a portion of it for a park, and then there's 3, 4, or 5 other things. I haven't heard yet what those 3, 4, 5 or other things are. Is it a big secret, or?
No, I'm actually surprised you haven't heard. I mean, they were.
Well, I mean,
they
before
were-
you say,
yeah,
does anybody else know what the 3, 4, 5
I
are?
thought some of them was solar panels was one of them.
They were, yeah, they were in, I
One was gonna
believe
be
it's been
how-
discussed a few times, it was probably
But-
before you were on the board.
Okay.
But I believe it's been discussed a few times in meetings that we've had with the reuse committee.
Well, I
So-
think Mary mentioned them. I don't know, Jim, like with a gun to my head, if I could tell you exactly what the 4 or 5 other things are. I kind of know conceptually the things they're looking at, but I
Well,
don't.
the
yeah.
only reason I know about the solar panels is
Yeah.
because I've mentioned it more than once, that would be a perfect place
Yeah.
for it.
And we've been discussing it for at least as long as I've been here,
Well,
so.
But-
would Mr. Howard potentially be
There's
able to?
also the property on Pierce Avenue that could possibly be sold because it blends in with the houses that are already on Pierce Avenue. The lot is big enough. And there's still gonna be room enough there for the trail, the Bay State Trail, to come from Pierce Avenue into the property.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that was worked out on. There's also gonna be a new water tank up there at some location. And the parking lot at the food pantry. See, the problem is, somebody's got to design it and create something in that area, because there's a parking lot that should go up there to handle a lot of cars, but it also should be in the area that's gonna be used to help, so people won't be walking too far. I don't have the knowledge to do this and anything else, so that, this is why these little things haven't come out for the public, because you can't really do anything until you have somebody come in and design and operate and figure out what to do with this land.
No, but Jim's just saying, like,
But-
what's being tossed around.
Then,
Just-
right, Donnie,
yeah.
but then, so, with the idea of putting a park in there, where's the park going? We need, who's ever gonna,
Well, basically, Jim, I think mainly, there's 55 acres up there. The acreage, there's about 25 that goes from behind the water tank towards the town hall. It's a narrow area that can be well used for a walk and park area. And the other parts up behind it can be used for, I don't know, recreation if you might want it. Something, there was discussion of having they have a lighted ball field in town up to Pateri Field. There's no field in Hanson for any of the kids to operate on the night lights for football, lacrosse, soccer, or anything of that nature. That was brought up and discussed. Whether or not it's feasible to do it, nobody really knows, because you got to have somebody that designs these parks with the land, the topo, the way the topo is up there, whether or not it's flat, it can be used for it, whether or not it have to be excavated and leveled, we don't know.
right,
We've got a whole mess of suggestions, but nothing can be done until you have some field come in and they've notified there's an outfit out in Amherst, was it?
Yeah,
Did it cost money?
Conway School.
And we talked here, and the selectmen voted that any income that could be brought in from, like the sale of the land on Pierce Avenue for somebody to build a home there, use that money so that you can hire some engineers and design people to come in and do something to help us.
exactly, but that person that's gonna come in and design something,
We don't know which one, who it'd be, which one it would be. It might be two. Might be
right,
two different ones.
but that's what I mean, wouldn't it be better to do the whole thing at once if, instead of just
Yes,
talking
yes,
about a park?
definitely, right.
Then you do the park here, the solar panel here, and the water tower there.
Open space, recreation, and a park, all right? All three of them put in together.
I thought there were 7 items that she talked about, weren't there? I'm pretty sure. And wouldn't they be in the minutes from the 15th?
Possibly.
Wasn't that our last one?
I may not have
I have a
included all of them
question
in it.
for Mr.
Okay.
Donnie, so the money from CPC, what do you plan to do
That-
with that money? Do you plan to hire the person to scope out the park with that money, or?
That's a possibility, yes. I don't know what, Phil's got this all written up to give to CPC. I don't know, you having a meeting
That's just
I'm
where
not
I'm,
on
con-
CPC
I
anymore,
know.
but I am involved in this just because there seems to be some disconnect, so I'm trying to get everything.
Mary Ann and Phil have
Yeah.
been doing a lot of that, I'll be honest with you.
Well, I guess to address, and maybe there were a bit of assumptions on my part and maybe on Dawn's part, I guess to address the concerns that I'm hearing from the board, why don't I try to schedule, because I think next week is still fairly wide open, why don't I try to schedule to have the reuse committee come in and have yet another discussion and bring you guys up to speed?
I mean, we're having a meeting again tomorrow night here.
I know I would love some clarification, because it's.
I would too.
it's-
Absolutely.
I would too. Like, I feel like we've all been paying attention, but I think they're having so many discussions, and there's a lot here, and we just want to make sure that we're taking the right first steps, or next steps, rather, because we know the property's been cleaned up, and that's awesome. And now the next steps are going to be very telling about what's
Right.
going to happen up there.
This is the problem.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a lot of opinion or something of what to do up there, but we can't make the decision. It's
Yeah.
gonna be up to the townspeople.
No, we just want to understand
I know.
what you want to do.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we don't want to support this. I just want to, right now, it's like muddy waters.
Yeah, we just
And
want to
I
know where
said
your
it in the
head's
last
at.
meeting, I'm
Yeah.
not sure what you guys are trying to do. I'm just-
Well, if I can take a step back, the Board of Selectmen, the reuse committee came before the board on at least one, if not two occasions, and I believe it was before we had the two members. And the Board of Selectmen did support the request or the suggestion of the reuse committee to designate at least a portion of that parcel as a public park. So the reuse committee has been moving in that direction, given, from what I recall, the affirmation of the Board of Selectmen that they wish to see a public park. Again, as Dawn mentions, there's 50-some-odd acres up there, and there's plenty of other things we can do. There are plenty of other things the town can do with that parcel. However, we had come, and it was really, I don't want to say it was at my suggestion, but I had encouraged the reuse committee at one of the meetings several months ago to make a suggestion. Let's move forward. There'd been an awful lot of discussion for an awful lot of years. Bring it before the Board of Selectmen, and the Board of Selectmen at that time could have said, we're not in support of a park. The Board of Selectmen did vote in support of, again, the concept of having a park, in some configuration on that parcel of land. And the reuse committee and myself have been moving in the direction, given, again, the affirmation of the Board of Selectmen. There has always been a desire, not only on Dawn's part, but I think on the Board of Selectmen's part, to get some sort of feedback in a quasi-official setting from the townspeople as to, are they in favor of this? Hence the question that we will be presenting before town meeting. So
There
it
was-
does not,
Right.
it does
You're right,
not
Mike.
preclude, it does not preclude any of the other uses
Right.
that are potential up there. It is the reuse committee, in one form or another, has recommended there be a park up there, a park similar to what I guess they've got in Hanover and other towns. They've got a park apparently that's very nice in Whitman. There's no such animal here in the town of Hanson. So several months ago, we were able to get permission or find $7,000 that was applicable to be spent for the Conway School to go and do that sort of initial design. Again, based on the direction the Board of Selectmen had agreed to, that the reuse committee had advanced. I just don't want this board to think, and I'm getting this feeling, that this stuff has been done in a vacuum, or this stuff has not been presented and talked through.
But hold on,
Is it
Mike,
the end-all and be-all? No, it most certainly isn't, but it's,
On August 15th, okay, Marion Damasco gave us a presentation. I'm reading the minute meetings from August 29th, okay, where we reviewed Article 13, and it says, Article 13, final Plymouth County Hospital. Proposed reuse of the property. Phil Clemens would like to have a specific language in an article in order to obtain affirmation from town meeting. Mr. McHugh is seeking input from town council. In addition, a survey will be distributed at the town meeting to get the town's recommendation. The final Plymouth County Hospital Reuse Committee has narrowed the scope of options, with the park being the major component. The survey will be available at Town Hall, Library, Senior Center, Mr. Hickey inquired if a presentation would be made at town meeting. Mr. Clemens indicated that it would. Mrs. Kemet indicated that she'd like clarification on that article and what it's attempting to do. And you weren't in favor of an article without specifics. Mr. Hickey noted at a previous meeting, Marion Damasco presented a recommendation of the park. Mr. Mitchell feels that moving too fast and trying not to do too much. So maybe what we need to do is, could we get Marion Damasco's presentation sent to us?
Yeah.
Just as a
Is
reminder?
it in the packet?
No,
That
I
packet
couldn't
in
find
there?
it in 8:15. Sorry, I looked.
I think she
Mr.
handed it out
Chairman.
at the meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, if I may?
Yep.
Mike, you were talking about the Board of Selectmen. That was before May 20th, when two new members.
Which is
of the
what I,
board-
again, which is, I indicated that it may
So
have
that would have
happened
been,
prior to.
yeah, a past
Yes,
Board of Selectmen on a
Yes.
5-0 vote.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Mike, just to be clear, I'm not trying to point fingers or anything. I just want to know what the heck is going
Sure.
on. I just want complete clarity for us and for the people at town meeting. Like, I literally, if you put a gun to my head and said, can you recommend this or not, I don't know what the heck I'd be recommending. We need clarity. And so I think your suggestion of, and I do thank you for the history and kind of putting us back on the path of what the past Board of Selectmen did and why we got where we are. That is super helpful. But I think now we need to know what is the Plymouth County Hospital Reuse Committee? Where is their head at right now? Like, what are they thinking is the priority? What are their next step? And are they going to look at that property comprehensively? Because I think the last thing any of us want to see is bits and pieces that could end up biting us in the end. Just because if we don't look at that holistically, there could be unintended consequences. I'm not saying I'm not in favor of the park, I absolutely am, but,
Well, as I said, I think at this point, given the
Well-
feedback from the board and the concerns, I will reach out to the committee, and they're going to meet tomorrow, and I'll see if it's possible, and I would imagine it will be, to have them before the board next week and have that discussion. So, at a minimum, the two new members are brought up to speed. And again, I apologize for making certain assumptions if I did.
No, I think honestly, if we could get that presentation sent to us again, I'm looking in here and I'm having problems with my iPad, it's not
Me
calling
too.
it up.
Yeah.
But if we can get a copy of that presentation sent to us again, and I think, I think what I'm in agreement to, Mike, what I would recommend maybe for this particular article is if we could narrow the scope to which one of the three areas, and I'm saying three primary areas, that we're gonna recommend for a park. Right, so if you say the place on the right, or the middle, or the left, whatever, that way people have some
Yeah, there's three
more
sections.
focus. Yeah, I know, but just, I think what you need to do is include which section you're talking about.
Right, well, see, we, as a committee, we don't want to make an opinion of ourselves.
Yeah, I
We
know.
want it to be from the town of Hanson,
Wasn't it the dog leg?
whether they want it or not, period.
Yeah, yeah.
One of the things. But I think it's a good area for the town to keep for years to come. Whether the whole thing can't be developed right off the bat, because it takes a lot of money to do anything of that nature. But I don't think you ought to give it away. It's
No.
just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
The town of Hanson already has over $2 million in it.
Yeah,
Purchasing the land to begin with, plus the fact that they voted last year for $1,800,000 to take it down. Well, we were fortunate enough to get a contractor to come in there, and they did it for less than $1 million. Now, I think that's a great thing.
yeah.
And,
I could swear you guys said that the park was gonna be, as you're walking up toward it, and the water towers there was gonna be down on the left, where the kids went camping when they had tuberculosis, right? Remember? I think that's the area you were talking about having a park, I'm not sure, but if we could just maybe get that document, I think it'll help.
see, we don't really know, Jim, for the simple fact, the topo of the ground that's in there, whether or not it'd be feasible for different things.
Okay,
that's why they want Article 13.
That's why we want
That's
the
why we want
article in there to vote for what
Yeah,
they
yeah.
want, and then it has to be researched by somebody to develop the area according to the land, of the land that's up there, the
The layout?
topo of the land.
okay, okay.
Because some of it tips off quite sharply in the back, which you couldn't use it for most anything, but some of the land up to the right and center front And the whole field's all the way down almost to the town hall. It's beautiful land. We walked it last Saturday.
Okay, so like Article 12, you're really just saying like, hey, we need feedback from the town. Like, are we heading in the right direction? Is this what you guys, because we've heard this anecdotally, like some of the feedback from the surveys have been in the past. We just want to know that we're heading in the right direction.
And it takes
then-
money to do
And then
those.
Article 13 is, and again, you really wouldn't get any of this from reading what's here, but Article 13 is kind of like, okay, if we hear back from Article 12 that you guys do want us to take a look at whether we can put a park up there, then we've got to do some studies on survey, sight lines,
have to.
topography, all of that good stuff, to figure out where would be good. But none of this is binding us to putting a park up there. I just
No,
want to clarify
no,
that, because I have been hearing word on the street that people are thinking like somehow they're getting hoodwinked into voting for a park up
No,
there.
they can vote for anything they
No,
want.
and again, going back to what I discussed at the last meeting and why I asked the board not to move on it, was I wanted to make sure that the wording, the motion did not bind the town, did not bind town meeting, did not bind the Board of Selectmen.
Non-binding.
It
Yeah.
was something that the Board of Selectmen has been talking about for quite some time, that they want some sort of feedback from the town to make sure that the town is comfortable in the direction in which the reuse committee, in which the administration, in which the Board of Selectmen is headed. As you mentioned, Laura, it is not binding.
Right.
It will afford a bit of conversation, because obviously it'll be open for discussion on town meeting floor. However, again, it does not preclude any other potential uses that have been discussed.
So the
It's
money
just-
for
it's just-
Article 13, Mike, I apologize.
We're gonna
will
need
go
that one
for
way or the other.
all of the potential uses over
We're
there.
gonna need that one way or the other, because that's doing out boundaries, that's doing some topo, whether, and I've always used the extreme of whether we use it as a park or we use it as a nuclear
understand.
missile site.
So
And
this
anywhere
is-
in between, we've gotta have that information.
Yep.
So,
So you're having, so they're doing the handout, Mike. I think the problem is, Mike, they're seeing redundancy, but it's on purpose. This will allow discussion at town meeting on whether people feel, how they feel about park on it, right? We'll get some verbal
Exactly,
feedback.
exactly.
And we'll have they'll have the handout too.
There'll be,
Yeah.
there'll be the handout, there'll be
Yeah.
feedback, there'll be the
So it's both.
survey. But again,
okay with that.
and again, I'm gonna sound like a broken record here, and I brought
No,
it
I'm
up for
with
the
you.
past couple of meetings, we were
Trying to pull
struggling.
the eyes off for anybody.
We were struggling with the appropriate way to bring this before town meeting,
Yeah,
and there
yeah.
really is no appropriate way to have them officially vote,
Yeah, no,
option
thank you
one,
for
option
explaining
two,
that, Mike.
option
I feel
three.
better now.
Plus,
Self-explanation.
This question
This makes
is
more sense.
Yeah,
specific.
it does now. Yeah.
It's specific, non-binding, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
specific to ask town meeting if it is in support
Yeah.
of the potential reuse, one of the potential reuses on a portion of this property as a park. That being said, we go forward, we spend the money with the Conway School, we spend the money doing whatever engineering and other, prep work we need to do, regardless of what we want to use it for in the future.
Okay,
We will still need to go to town meeting
Yeah.
at some point to get the funding to actually create a park. So the town will have another bite, an official bite at the apple. It won't be a non-binding vote. It will be a binding vote to say, we need $120,000, whether that comes from CPC, whether that comes from a borrowing, whatever the source will be, the town will at that point be able to, if
I'm
it
gonna
changes
help
its
it.
mind.
Yep.
A motion to
Recommend.
recommend Article 12.
Okay.
So moved, I second, but can I just add, I think that, Don, you guys may want to really contemplate at town meeting, having a timeline that says, these are the steps we're going to take before we bind you guys to
I
anything.
think it's gonna be something there.
Yeah,
so that
okay,
people
because
can do.
I think that's what is, like, if, we've been paying attention, we've been talking to you about this, and we're having difficulty in grasping it. I think other people that haven't been paying attention are gonna have even more trouble. So I think additional clarification on Article 13, which isn't your issue, it's Community Preservation Committee has got to clarify. And then, because they're even saying that the money's coming from open space reserve, so again, that kind of makes you think that it's definitely gonna be a use for open space, and it may not. Tom emailed me, and we're going back and forth on which bucket it probably should come from, so that may change.
Because
Yeah.
I'm not drafting anybody's articles anymore,
Yeah.
and that's what I took from something that
Yeah.
had previously been presented.
That may change,
I
but-
need that
yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah,
So
Yeah, well-
they need to decide, not tomorrow night. They
Yeah.
need somebody, because the,
Warrant?
it's gonna be, warrant is gonna be posted Thursday morning.
I think
So
it's
need-
probably gonna be from undesignated, but I'll have
Okay.
Tom let you know that.
Okay.
And I did find, Mary, I did find the minutes for 8:15, and it says, and it's quite lengthy update from the final Plymouth County Hospital Reads. This is Mary Ann Damasco's. She says, reviewed the 7 options currently under consideration: municipal park, water tower, easement, solar array, superintendent's residence,
Perfect.
recreational trail access, residential site, and former extension service building.
There you go.
So that was discussed on the 15th.
Yep.
The committee submitted a pre-application, which we talked about already, and the south section of the property has been viewed by developers. They're considering a solar field, it says, right? Other funding sources include grants from state parks.
Yep.
Committee's looking at options for park and recreation area, that you just said, Donnie. Okay, so, motion has been made and seconded. Further discussion or questions? All those in favor of recommending Article 12 as stated?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0.
Thanks, Mike, for the clarification.
Sorry that it was so long-winded.
Let's just hope it goes
Little
more
bit of
quickly at town
clarification.
meeting.
That's what we needed.
So far, every time we discuss this, it goes
Well,
into
we were
like a half
lucky
an
in the
hour.
last-
conversation.
Well, you know what?
I never been
It's
to
a big deal. It is a big
It
deal.
is.
And it's not something to take lightly.
No.
It's really going to significantly change the face of this town for the next 100 years, not to quote my friend Phil. So at this point, I don't have anything else to add. Nothing else has really changed. I would ask for the board to consider making a motion to sign the warrant.
Do we need to close it first?
We just, actually, before we do that, there were a couple of questions on some of the articles. One was the general bylaw change regarding smoking at Camp Kawani.
Oh, yeah.
We checked with town council, and town council said smoking of marijuana is not prohibited in public at all. So you don't need to address that because it's already prohibited by statute.
By statute
Yeah.
of what was passed by the marijuana.
Right, and
law
we
in
have,
Massachusetts.
you know,
Okay.
this was addressed even before the marijuana thing came up, back when we did the medical marijuana. We had put something into the police regulations, so there's a $300 fine for smoking.
Okay, and events up at Camp Kawani are considered public?
Yes,
I'm just asking because it's private rental. I just want to make sure.
public property.
It is public property, okay.
That's good. I'm glad. What else, Mary? Anything else?
No, I think that might have been all that we had,
Okay,
We
do we
have
close
questions?
it first and then sign, or do we sign?
yeah,
it?
you have to
Yeah,
close it,
because you
yeah.
opened it,
Right.
that's right.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to close the warrant.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in, discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
5-0 to close. Next, I would, do we have to vote on signing it, or do we just sign
Vote
it?
to sign it.
Well,
Okay, so I would entertain a motion to vote to sign the October special town meeting warrant.
So moved.
Second.
but we're
Discussion.
still missing dollar amounts for things.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this
that's right,
is
that's
for
what they said.
posting purposes. You can put this is for
Just to
posting.
post.
Okay,
The dollar amounts will be added when we do,
After.
I'll do an informational warrant, which will be different than what you're seeing right here. We'll have all the information regarding
okay.
that.
The reason I'm asking is what if the dollar amount is outrageous and we've agreed to post this and I don't agree with the dollar amount that ends up coming in? I'm just,
Then you wouldn't recommend it.
okay, fine.
Your vote would be to not recommend.
All
Am I
right,
right?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
great, thank you.
Once in a while, right? Even a blind squirrel finds another. Okay. So, thanks, Kenny. All right.
Moved and seconded.
So moved and seconded. That was a good question, though, because you're a newbie.
I'm a newbie.
kinda,
I
right?
gotta
Yeah.
ask these questions.
Absolutely. Okay. No further discussion, no questions? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And that was a vote to sign the warrant.
And I think to Laura's point, we had asked you not to move on recommendation on the articles that we don't have numbers on. yet,
Right.
So
Absolutely.
Really placed them.
you only placed them.
Okay, next item on our agenda is a discussion regarding the Recreation Director's position. In your, Mary has handed you a document you should each have on the Hanson Recreation Commission Recreation Director's title, right? One has gray area, is that right, Mary, where that's the change, is that correct?
There are two different ones. One, the one that says updated 12/14/16, that's the marked up version.
That's the current, that's
That's
the
the one that
old,
we had, that's the one we had, and then the next one that says revised and approved September 11th, that's what Recreation voted on last night, so you have, so you can compare them. I should have
just
done them in
gonna-
different colors. I
I'm just gonna put
apologize.
old and new, all right?
Whatever works for you. I should have done color coding, but I didn't.
No, that's
Drop the
okay,
ball.
Mary, that's okay. So there's, so my assumption is that the Recreation Department has removed what we have in gray under the updated 12, 14, 16, is that correct?
Where is it on here?
Good luck with that.
Is that removed, Mary, or is that added? I believe it's removed.
You have something in
Removed.
gray?
Yes.
The old ones-
Highlight? See the gray
Yeah.
highlight?
Yeah, that's removed. They don't want quarry forms being done.
Give this to Mary to double check.
Okay.
Because there's also crossed out line stuff, Mary. So I'm not sure if you were doing both or one.
I'm sorry, can you go back over what we're?
On the bottom, see the dates?
This one is old?
I see that,
That
that's
one's
what I
new.
thought, okay, I
Yeah.
just wanted to make sure.
That's okay.
But then there's one with gray stuff, and
That should be the same thing.
that's old, but just changed?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
it's,
All right, so Don, you don't need the other.
is that right, Mary? Am I right on that? What are your thoughts?
Whatever's in your packet that I handed you would be your most updated
Okay,
stuff,
gotcha,
okay?
okay.
So
So,
mine's just not gray, but it's the same as yours.
yeah, that's okay.
It's a color change.
Yeah, that's okay. So the new one does not contain a statement that was under the supervision that reads, and I'm going to read it, it says, conducts query checks on all part-time, full-time employees, volunteers hired by the commission, and maintain appropriate personnel records. So that piece has been removed from the recreation director's position. Am I reading that correctly? Yes? Okay. I'm just gonna read the changes first, then we can go back and discuss them, right? The next one is, that was removed, is provides bi-monthly expense reports to the commission and reconciles accounts with the town accountants monthly. That too has been removed. And what we have crossed out is the maintains inventory of equipment and supplies, provides for the maintenance, I see where this is going now. Maintenance, maintains inventory of equipment and supplies, provides for the maintenance of equipment in recreational facilities, purchases needed equipment and supplies. And then also on page 2, you'll notice another line crossed out that says prepares and maintains all areas and facilities under department control for optimum use and support of community programs, requests and arranges for the use of public and or private facilities owned or operated by other departments when directed.
Mr. Chairman, I hate to interrupt, but I believe you may be reading off of an incorrect.
Old?
Yeah, I think that these were, and the chairman of the rec commission, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe there had been a thought to remove the lines that you just mentioned, and instead we modified them to include the
I gotcha.
the creation of the facilities director and how the facilities director would be involved in I think both of those things.
So what we did, Mike,
So I'm with you.
we removed one whole entire
So Laura,
section
this
because
one
it
that
dealt
is
with
not
just the
great is
facilities.
the.
Yeah.
And then the other one, we wrote work with the
Yeah,
facilities.
yeah, okay.
No, it's not, yeah.
Yeah, so, but this one is just the stripes,
I
so.
want to get rid of the one that's,
Yeah, get rid of
Okay, so there's an old one and an old number 2. Okay? Just look at it that way and it'll help you. If you have one that's in gray, the gray highlight,
yep,
throw that one away.
Okay.
That's not the one.
all right, good, throw
All right.
the red one.
You don't have.
If you don't have a gray, don't highlight, then you're good to go.
No, he's already ahead of the curve.
So the old one is dated 12/14/16, and if you'll notice, it does have conducts query checks
It
on all
does,
part-time,
okay.
full-time employees. So that is there.
Okay,
And so too is the provides bi-monthly expense reports to the commission and reconciles accounts with the town accountants monthly. So those two are there.
You must have made changes to this with Anne Marie and didn't give them to me.
That's okay, it keeps us sharp, Mary,
Yeah,
okay?
this is, yeah,
That's okay.
that's the old one.
And then,
That's the old one.
yeah,
Yeah. The old one says.
okay, now, how about page 2?
Yeah, so that's pulled out.
We're not looking at the right stuff.
that's okay. And then, so that was the old one.
Which one are you looking at now?
Well, I think the old one, the new one is what they're recommending, but I just want to know how did they change it from the old one?
Okay, so let me ask you a question. So even though it was,
Look
great,
at
even though it was
this and
grayed
make
out,
sure that-
Anne Marie, is
I'm not
the,
sure why.
the Cory
That's what they
checks.
just- that's what
Let
they
me
just
just,
approved.
let's just put it this way. We know what 4 items were changed, right? We know what 4 items we think were changed.
Right.
So for the Cory checks, are you keeping them or adding or
We are
removing?
not keeping them because Mary does those for the town.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so.
That's why it's not in this.
So that is being done, just not by this individual.
Exactly.
Yes,
So
yes,
all
yes.
Cory's
That's
done.
what they had, everybody has.
Why remove, that makes sense. So the Cory one will be removed.
Right.
Why? What was the thoughts?
Mary's doing it.
Mary
doing
does
it.
it.
Mary's
Gotcha.
doing it.
And the provide bi-monthly expense reports, why was that removed?
Yeah,
That is still on the job description.
That is the,
yeah, this one's.
Okay, and what's that verbiage you just said?
Provides bi-monthly expense
Yes,
reports to
yes,
the commission and reconciles accounts with the town.
ah, you're right.
council.
So we got an old, so we got a new number 1 and a new number 2. Okay, I'm with you.
All right.
At least mine.
Okay. The one, if you have at the bottom of your spreadsheet, guys, at the bottom of this sheet here, if it says provides bi-monthly expense reports to the commission, that's the one you want to keep. That's the new one.
Two of them.
Yeah, that's this one? Yeah, that's new.
Put that one over
Oh, I
there.
have two. But you do have 2 new ones.
Okay, so these are the same.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so then if you just go to the second page of the revised and approved
Okay.
9/11/17 one.
Yes, sir, ma'am.
The second page, 1, 2, 3, 4th paragraph down.
Yeah, works with facilities manager.
Right, so instead, that read before.
The old one.
Maintains inventory of equipment and supplies, provides the maintenance of equipment and recreational facilities, purchases needed equipment and supplies. That we just added, works with facilities manager to do the same thing.
Okay, I'm with you.
Yeah, I just read
Then,
that line, they changed
the
it.
other paragraph was removed entirely. There was a lot of facility information into it, and it was not, the commission just felt that it wasn't part of the recreation director's job. It
Yeah.
was more of a facilities manager's job.
I gotcha.
So we took that out. Those are the only changes that we did.
Okay. And so what you took out was the prepares and maintains all areas of facilities under department
It's
control
kind of
for
redundant,
use.
actually.
That has been completely removed from the new.
And yeah, but you retained the suggestion of the bi-monthly expense reports?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
So that was the addition, that wasn't an amendment.
right.
Because I didn't know if I liked that one removed. It just kind of didn't seem to make sense. The monthly, bi-monthly expense report.
Right, that's already, that's in here, yes. That's
And I want to make it clear to the Board of Selectmen that there is no expectation, nor there should be, of the facilities manager, the rec director doing Cory checks. The Cory checks, they stay here.
Okay.
Can I ask,
That's
Tim.
said, so.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
No, absolutely.
May I ask a question?
Tim,
Going back to paragraph 4, page 2.
Yes.
This was revised last night. Works with the facilities manager.
Yeah.
Do we have a facilities manager?
We are advertising for a facilities manager.
Okay, so this was revised last night.
Yes.
But we don't have a facilities manager
No,
yet.
we do not have one in
And
place yet.
when was that position created?
That position was created several years ago as a part-time position
For the town.
for the town, yeah. That's not a,
It's not
that's
a
not a
recreation department.
recreation, no,
Right, no, that's not
yeah.
what I'm asking.
Yeah.
I'm asking, so we haven't had one for years.
You've never had one.
We've never had.
You've never had one.
And
You
it was created
you-
2 years ago.
You created the position, and you never funded it.
Right.
It was never advertised, it was never filled. So at a conversation I believe we had at the last meeting, it was discussed that we would seek the funding for that position in October, and that we would advertise for that position, and that the priority for that position when it is filled, whether that be an individual or whether that be a contractor from a company that does that sort of thing, you know, we'll put out a request for an individual, we'll put out an RFQ, decide which makes the most amount of sense. But going forward, the priority will be for that person to focus in on the issues up at the camp, and once those are resolved, transition into all the other facilities and what may be needed at all the other facilities. But I think that the consensus had been that the priorities are some of the things that need to get done up at the camp.
Absolutely, I agree. And we're looking for funding for this position.
At town meeting, at the special town meeting, I think for half a year.
Right.
I forget what the amount was, like 26,000?
Okay, so
Oh, it's in the supplemental,
So
right?
with those
Under us,
4
yeah.
changes,
In supplemental.
right?
Do I
With
have
those
that?
4 changes,
page.
One, I'm gonna sum them up. One was the removal of the quarry checks, which is done by Mary.
Yep.
They're keeping in the provides bi-monthly expense reports, okay? They have changed the maintains inventory of equipment and supplies by adding works with the facilities manager to maintain inventory of equipment and supplies. Okay, that was changed. And they removed entirely, it prepares and maintains all areas of facilities under department control for optimum use in support of the program's requests and arranges for the use of public or private facilities. So those are the four, let's just call them items tonight that we're talking about relative to this position. Okay. All right. Bruce, good to see you.
Jim, on that list.
Do I have any questions from the board members at all on
Yep.
on what's been
Jim.
asked?
It's number 8 on that sheet.
Oh, I'm sorry, Laura, I thought that you said,
Yep, through you, Jim, to
34,000
Avery.
town building.
Works with facilities manager to maintain inventory of equipment and supplies. Immediately, I'm thinking this is sufficiently vague enough that if I were reviewing somebody's performance, I wouldn't, who, can you describe like how you, who's got the primary responsibility for that?
So what would happen is the facility manager would oversee the equipment for the caretakers and those things. The rec director would oversee the equipment for the office and,
Okay.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The office equipment, the lodge equipment type of things.
Okay.
But the facility manager would be, the tools, all the equipment that we have for caretakers.
outside the office.
Right,
Okay.
right.
Good question. We had a question, Mr. Young.
I just have a question on page 2, because I'm not following what you're following, because I have the last one that was approved by the Wage and Personnel Board, and I just want to make sure that it still says the following. Prepares and justifies fiscal budget estimates, administers specific program budgets, calculates program fees, supervises and participates when necessary in the maintenance of records of expenditures and receipts, purchasing of supplies and materials, supervises and participates when necessary in the preparation of processing of forms and reports, meets regularly with the Recreation Commission, recommends updates of policies and makes suggestions for new policies, and then in that short paragraph, reviews and approves rental agreements and releases in accordance with the Camp Kewaunee policies and procedures.
Those are there.
Those are there.
Okay.
They're there.
I just want to make sure, because
And they're intact as you read them.
Right.
Okay, no changes to the wording, so. Okay, so we'll be clear on the four things that we talked about and what Bruce made as a point to make sure that these are left in.
Well, it's not really 4, because that other
I
one
know
just
it's really
got moved.
three,
It's
but I just
3.
wanted to say to
Yeah.
it because
Okay.
it looked like 4 on the original documents and blah, blah, blah. But are we good? Is everybody clear? Is there any questions?
No.
Everybody comfortable?
Makes sense.
Would you like a pillow? What's,
Quick question.
yeah?
On page 1, under essential functions, does it
Yes,
still say develops and plans cost-effective programs?
Mr. Young, I have an
Yes.
extra copy.
yes,
You
it
want-
does.
Of communities that shall supervise and participate when necessary, that whole.
Scheduling
Yes.
is, yes, it does. Assigns personnel, coordinates recreational activities. Yes, it does. Bruce, why don't you get this one?
Yeah, okay.
All right. I have an extra copy that I brought for you.
Just trying to follow what you're saying up there.
Yeah, that's okay. This was good, because this was an exercise in keeping us sharp. Thanks, Mary.
It was a longer exercise than necessary, and I apologize.
I would not apologize, no apology necessary, absolutely. We got plenty of time, it's only 8:45.
It's easy to confuse us, Mary, you know that.
You said we were gonna.
And we've already gone through the articles, so, you know.
Good lad.
Okay, so I would I would entertain a motion to accept as amended the Hanson Recreation Commission's description for the Recreation Director.
So moved.
As re-
Second.
Okay, as
Donnie?
approved. I'm sorry, did you, Jim?
No,
Laura
he's-
moved it.
He's trying to let
Laura
Jim and I
moved it.
move it. He's trying.
Oh, he's trying to let you guys say second, Jim.
Oh, no, that's, oh, I don't want
All
to
right,
step on
okay.
his toes.
All right, next time tell him in advance. All right, we're good.
Damn me.
So, any other questions? Any other comments?
Just a comment.
Mr. Young?
At some point in time, if you accept this,
Yes, sir.
okay, You need to update the administrative assistant's job description. I'm sure you know that.
Yes.
So if...
The administrative assistant at the, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It's already done.
It's already done.
So that it's not reporting to the chair of the recreation, it would be
Yeah,
reporting to the recreation director.
Director, gotcha.
Yep, it reports to both the commission and the director
Yep.
in conjunction.
All right, but right now I want to focus on it, but thank you for the heads up. All right, so we have a motion made and seconded, is that correct? Yes?
Yes.
All right. Let's take a big step here. I'm going to put it out to vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
5-0. Thank you very much. All right. It is well done. Like the steak I had tonight, yes. All right, we're good.
God, you're full
You
of it
cooked
tonight.
it then, right?
I didn't really have steak, sorry, Bruce. Yeah. All right, so the next item on our agenda is the vote and approve minutes of August 29th. This is regular and executive. I'll tell you what, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes from August 29th, regular meeting.
So move.
Second.
Made and seconded. Are there any questions? Any corrections or any comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I read them, they're good. I would entertain a motion to vote and approve the minutes of August 29th, executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Made and
Mary, I
seconded.
beat him.
I'll let
You
Mary
beat
pick
him?
out
I
who.
beat him.
All those in-
mind.
Any questions or comments? All those,
Isn't there something we have to state about
We're
executive
gonna be
session?
held.
Should
on
we-
executive session minutes?
Yes. Is
Yeah,
this,
you want to hold them unless they're ready to be released.
What do you mean?
Executive session
With the-
minutes should be held
yeah,
until
yeah,
we
yeah.
vote to release them.
public?
Oh, no,
So we
no.
have to make
Because
that as
it's
part of the
contract
motion?
negotiations.
Oh, I see, okay.
Vote to approve but not release.
So motion to approve but not release. So amend the motion to include the words not release. Thank you, Kenny.
Move.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded, this time by Mr.
Yeah.
by Mr. Hickey.
Girl mustache.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Perfect. Nice job. Thank you for keeping me on that, guys. Thank you, Kenny. So we are at the next item on our agenda, committee reports. Monpont Pond Committee, Mr. Howard.
Okay. I have a report here that I picked up today.
Thank you, Anne Marie.
Bye, thank you.
Someplace. As of September 11th, the cyanobacteria in West Monpont Pond has dropped down to 61,853. And the Fourth Avenue Beach is 57,125, which means that the cyanobacteria is below the level of 70,000 cells per million.
And that's good, right?
And that is good, and I think that was attributed to it was treated this spring,
It was.
plus the fact Halifax had a lot of rain last week
Yeah.
that we didn't get here.
We had one day where it poured like heck. Do you remember that?
Where?
Oh, that's
In
good.
Hanson.
Yeah.
Where, your house?
At my house.
Well,
Was it raining at the
I
committee?
got 300s.
You did?
That isn't much rain.
Really? Okay. It was
But
like a
the-
Thursday or Friday.
The
wasn't
pond is not open, Dawn.
I know it's not open.
Okay, I just didn't want to give people the impression that it's
No,
okay.
it's-
The pond
it's
is still closed.
it? Okay.
Do we have executive?
The Monpont Pond is still closed.
Yes,
Just the West Monpont is closed, right? Oh, they're both closed.
I think they're both closed.
Oh, wow.
Is that it, Donnie?
Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much, sir. Hopefully we get more rain, right?
That's good, too.
How's the garden, Donnie? Good?
Yeah, it's going good.
All right, cool.
Need more rain, though.
Yeah. Next item we have is the final Plymouth County Hospital Reuse Committee. Mr.
That's
Howard,
been-
do you want to say anything further?
That's been well run through tonight. I think we can skip that.
Just for the record, we will have like a presentation at town meeting on what that's going to be.
Yes, there will be.
I remember, Okay, so next we have the McQuon School Reuse Committee, the new name.
Yes, it is newly renamed. Thank you for noticing that. I think, Mary and Mike, we need to get that party started and get everybody together and get a meeting.
Yeah, we got
scheduled.
your email, we're working on
Okay,
it.
all right, awesome, thanks.
Thank you very much, Laura. Next, we have the Hanson School Repair
Nothing.
Committee. Mr. Hickey, so all set with that one.
Nothing to report yet.
Nothing. How are we doing on the Highway Building Committee? Mr. Mitchell, you want to tell us about what happened on the 9th?
On the 9th, we had an open house. from 11 to 2. It was nice. Tracy.
Tracy put it in the
was there.
paper.
I wasn't
Thank you.
there the whole time, but when Tracy got there, she made sure and called me. And, because I had to work unfortunately, but I did run down there after she called me and made sure and had a few words with her. So, thank you, Tracy, for attending, and I look forward to your beautiful article coming on Thursday. And I also taped a cable show. I went on Bring It On with Bob Hayes and one of the architects from Weston and Sampson. I did that yesterday, so we can look for that to be out
Oh, yeah.
on Facebook and YouTube.
His show,
On,
right?
yeah,
It's a
it
show.
was good. Wednesday, I think he said it'll be ready Wednesday, maybe tomorrow, or by Thursday. That should be ready. And we met on Monday night briefly. We just talked about the PR part of it, what we're gonna do to, make sure and be able to get this information out. We're gonna do video. I talked to Mike today. We're gonna do a quick video, 5-minute video at town meeting. I'll have 2 engineers from there, Weston and Sampson. I did reach out to a representative from Hubble, one of their engineers. I spoke to him a couple of months ago, but I'm expecting to have him, Mr. Neal, but he hasn't followed up. So I want to make sure I have all the parties in place, for a town meeting. We'll have a little display there, pictures of the proposed building, little brochure handouts for anybody that wants it. So I think we'll be well prepared as far as, being transparent and getting the news out to everybody. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Kenny. It was a nice, well-written article too, Tracy. Thank you for putting it in there, last week's paper. Next, we have the 200th Anniversary Committee.
We have not met, but we're meeting shortly, and I will give you an update when we do meet.
Thank you, Laura. All right, if there's no further business, then the next, we move to executive session. I would like to take maybe though a brief recess. Yeah, so, is that a good view? I think it is. Because that means that I hit the pool at 8:50.
All right.
All right, so the executive session, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel, treasurer, collector, and assessor, and to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares, administrative professional. I would take a roll call vote.
So moved.
Laura?
Yes.
I need a second. Who seconded that?
Second?
Jim, you had an
Sorry,
opportunity there.
He says roll
I thought
call.
Laura
Mess
was
me
gonna
up.
second it. I wanted you to.
Oh, all right.
last.
I thought you were taking
recess.
Who seconded?
So who seconded?
So who seconded?
I
Kenny
second.
did.
All right.
Kenny did, okay.
usual
Yes.
suspects.
Now roll call vote.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We're moving to executive session. Only when we adjourn out of executive session, we will move to adjournment from the regular meeting. Thank you all for coming. Have a nice night. Thank you, Carol.